The forbidden law that separates predators from prey 99 don't know. The forbidden secret that made Napoleon conquer Europe, you can use it today. Did you know Napoleon Bonaparte obsessively studied chess before every battle? But he wasn't playing for fun. He was learning a brutal lesson that 99% of people will never understand: the difference between winning a game and destroying your opponent forever. There's a reason why some individuals completely dominate their fields while others struggle their entire lives without making progress. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's knowledge of a psychological law so powerful that Robert Greene made it number 15 of the 48 laws of power: crush your enemy totally. But here's the secret nobody told you. This law isn't about physical violence. It's about the mental architecture of a supreme predator. It's about thinking like a chess master who sees 10 moves ahead, where every piece on the board represents people, obstacles, and opportunities in your real life. Most people think small. They win an argument and think they've won. They get a promotion and relax. They overcome an obstacle and celebrate. But while they're celebrating, the real enemy, mediocrity, self-sabotage, lack of strategic vision, is reorganizing its forces for a devastating counterattack. The master of power thinks differently. When he identifies what's preventing his success, he doesn't just remove the obstacle. He studies it, understands its structure, maps all its ramifications, and then annihilates it in such a way that it can never resurface. It's like a surgeon who doesn't just remove the tumor, but eliminates every cancer cell from the system. Think about Steve Jobs when he returned to Apple in 1997. The company was nearly bankrupt, with mediocre products scattered everywhere. A common leader would try to improve each product. Jobs did the opposite. He canceled 70% of projects, fired thousands of employees, and obsessively focused on few revolutionary products. He didn't reform Apple. He destroyed it and rebuilt it from scratch. Result? The world's most valuable company. This is the mentality of chess with living pieces. You're not playing to score points. You're playing to completely recreate the rules of the game. And this requires a mental coldness that scares normal people but liberates those brave enough to embrace it. The amateur enters the battlefield with emotion. He fights with passion, with pride, with anger. And because of this, he's predictable. His passion makes him blind. But in the world of chess with living pieces, predictability is your greatest weakness. It makes you an easy target. When you master the art of total destruction, you develop what I call strategic immunity. You become someone who doesn't just solve problems, you eliminate entire categories of problems before they can manifest. You don't adapt to the game. You force the game to adapt to you. 72-hour action protocol. Identify the biggest obstacle in your professional or personal life. Now, instead of trying to improve or work around this problem, do the mental exercise of destroying it completely. What actions would you take if your only option was to eliminate this obstacle definitively? Write down these strategies. Feel the power that comes from thinking like a master, not like a victim. This isn't about being ruthless with people, it's about being ruthless with limitations. How a machine humiliated chess's greatest genius, what it reveals about mind control. In 1997, world chess champion Garry Kasparov did something that shocked the world. He lost to a machine. But what Deep Blue did to defeat the greatest chess genius in history wasn't calculating faster. It was something much more sinister. Completely removed emotion from the equation. Here is a brutal truth about power. Your emotions are the control system your enemies use to manipulate you. Every time you react with anger, fear, anxiety, or even excessive enthusiasm, you're handing over control of your mind to external forces. You become predictable, and in the power game, being predictable is equivalent to death. There's a psychological phenomenon called emotional hijacking, discovered by Daniel Goleman. When you feel an intense emotion, your primitive brain limbic system literally takes control of your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for strategic thinking. For minutes or even hours, you can no longer think logically. You become a wounded animal reacting by instinct. Power masters know this mechanism and exploit it mercilessly. They provoke emotional reactions in their adversaries while maintaining glacial calm. It is as if they have an invisible emotional armor that protects them from any attempt at external manipulation. Think about Vladimir Putin during diplomatic negotiations. Regardless of provocations, he maintains the same neutral facial expression, the same controlled tone of voice. This coldness isn't coldness, it's concentrated power. While his opponents waste emotional energy, he conserves his for the exact moment he needs to act. But there's an even deeper level to this strategy. The true master doesn't just control his own emotions, he uses coldness as an active psychological weapon. When you remain completely impassive in situations that would make others nervous, you create an emotional vacuum that people feel compelled to fill. They start talking too much, revealing information, making concessions just to break the discomfort of silence. This is what makes certain serial killers so fascinating and terrifying in movies. It's not the violence that disturbs us, it's the complete absence of emotion. This absence creates a sense of supernatural power, as if the person had access to a level of mental control that transcends normal human experience. 5-day psychological experiment. Choose a daily situation that normally triggers a strong emotional reaction, and you could be traffic, work discussions, criticism. During that situation, practice what I call the ICE protocol. Breathe deeply, relax facial muscles, lower your voice tone by 20%, and respond only after a 3-second pause. Watch how other people start behaving differently around you. Document these changes. You will discover that emotional control isn't about repressing feelings, it is about having the power to choose when and how to express them. The sinister strategy Machiavelli used to drive his enemies insane. There's a passage in The Prince that most people have never read, but which reveals the darkest secret of political power. Machiavelli describes how Cesare Borgia conquered territories not through brute force, but by creating situations so unpredictable that his enemies literally went insane trying to anticipate his next moves. This is the essence of strategic unpredictability. It's not about being random, but about being an algorithm that nobody can decode. The human mind is a pattern recognition machine. Unconsciously, we're always trying to predict others' behavior based on past experiences. When we encounter someone genuinely unpredictable, our mind enters maximum alert mode. We spend excessive mental energy trying to decode this person. And mental energy is transferred power. Think about Elon Musk. One moment, he's talking about colonizing Mars. The next, he's buying Twitter for $44 billion, then launching a tunnel company, followed by developing brain chips. Media, investors, and competitors live in a permanent state of trying to predict what he'll do next. This unpredictability isn't madness, it's strategic genius in disguise. But there's a crucial difference between amateur unpredictability and master unpredictability. The amateur is chaotic without purpose. The master uses unpredictability like a psychological scalpel. Each unexpected action has 3 layers of intention: the obvious goal, the hidden goal, and the psychological goal of disorienting adversaries. It's like those martial arts masters who create movements so unique they become impossible to counterattack. Bruce Lee developed Jeet Kune Do with exactly this philosophy. Be like water. Water has no fixed form, but can destroy mountains through unpredictable persistence. In business and relationships, unpredictability works like an invisible force field. When people can't categorize you, they instinctively treat you with more respect and caution. You become an unknown variable in their mental equations, forcing them to constantly recalculate their strategies. There's also an element of psychological fascination. We're naturally attracted to mystery. That's why enigmatic personalities like David Bowie, Prince, or Steve Jobs exercised magnetism over millions of people. They never let themselves be completely decoded, always maintaining an aura of unpredictability that made them infinitely more interesting. 7-day strategic unpredictability protocol. Identify 3 behavioral patterns people know you for. Could be always arriving on time, always wearing the same style, always reacting the same way to certain situations. Deliberately break one of these patterns per week, but subtly. If you're always punctual, Arrive 5 minutes late without explaining why. If you always agree politely, occasionally ask an uncomfortable question nobody expected. Watch how social dynamics around you start changing. People will begin paying more attention to you, trying to decode this new version of you. The dark ritual that transforms ordinary people into apex predators. If you've made it this far, your mind is no longer the same. You've absorbed 3 psychological weapons that 99.9% of people will never master: total strategic destruction, emotional coldness as shield and sword, and unpredictability as a mental force field. Now, we'll reveal how to combine these 3 forces into a single identity so powerful it will be virtually unstoppable. There is a term in military psychology called command presence, that indefinable quality that makes soldiers follow a leader even in impossible situations. It's not traditional charisma. It's not physical intimidation. It is something much deeper. The perception that this person operates on a different level of reality than the rest of humanity. When you master the power triad: strategic destruction, emotional control, and calculated unpredictability, you develop what I call a psychological gravitational field. People instinctively sense that you have access to information, strategies, and levels of control they don't possess. They begin treating you like a force of nature disguised as an ordinary person. Think of historical figures like Cleopatra, who seduced 2 of Rome's most powerful men, not with physical beauty, but with a mental presence so magnetic it literally altered the course of history. Or Sun Tzu, whose enemies often surrendered before battles even began, just from the reputation of his relentless strategic genius. This is the difference between amateur power and master power. The amateur uses brute force, shouts louder, works more hours, competes directly. The master manipulates the very perception of reality. He doesn't need to fight because he's already won in everyone's mind before the first move. But there is a final component that transforms this power triad into something transcendental: the absence of need for external approval. When you genuinely don't need others to validate your decisions, when you operate purely based on your internal logic and long-term objectives, you become psychologically armored against any form of manipulation or emotional blackmail. The daily master ritual: immediate implementation. Every day, for exactly 7 minutes, execute this mental protocol. Minutes 1-2. Visualize your main goal destroyed completely. Not improved, but conquered so absolutely, it will never be a problem again. Feel the satisfaction of this total destruction. Minutes 3-4. Practice emotional coldness by remembering situations that would normally irritate you. Visualize yourself reacting with glacial calm, transforming others' emotions into your mental fuel. Minutes 5-6. Plan one unpredictable action for the day, something small, but that will break a pattern people expect from you. Minute 7. Mentally affirm, operate on a superior level of reality. My decisions are based on long-term logic others don't understand. I am a force of nature disguised as an ordinary person. Execute this ritual religiously for 30 days and document changes in people's reactions around you. You'll discover that real power isn't something you conquer, it's something you become. The game has changed. And now, you know the rules that govern the masters. If this video changed your mindset, smash that like button so the algorithm shows this to more people. Comment, Master, if you already see yourself as the architect of your own power. Share with anyone still fighting battles they can't win. Subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss the next secrets of the 48 laws.